Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on the map Oakenhammer playing as the Force of the Beastmen against the Force of the Greenskins. And for this match, well, I wanted to try and outblob the Green Tide, and kind of anticipating a bit of a Stone Troll blob ever since Grom and the Black Orc Big Boss have kind of enabled those sort of blobbing strats very, very easily. I thought, well, maybe Beastmen can do it too, especially against the Greenskins. And so we're going to be here with a bit of a death ball, seeing just what we can pull off against a horde of orc scum. And if we go over this build here, we are going to be seeing, well, quite a few support tools that Beastmen can bring to enable that sort of playstyle. First and foremost, I do have a Beast Lord here. I decided to bring him instead of Kazrak because, well, he's cheaper, and more importantly, he does come with two nifty AoE melee attack buffs. He gets Apocalyptic Visions as well as Horn of the First Beast. Both of these abilities, when procced, do grant plus 24 melee attack apiece. You also get plus 8 leadership and plus 24 leadership, so really keeps troops in the fight. Horn of the First Beast lasts for a whopping 35 seconds and even grants a little bit extra charge bonus. So really, really strong death ball support there. And I actually also brought the Bloodlust, which extra 25% AP damage might not sound like much, but you drop it on the unit like Minotaurs, and Minotaurs already have a whopping 77 AP damage. Now they're spiked up by about almost 20 weapon strength, so the jumps them up to about 130 damage, and they can really be swinging very, very hard. Alongside him, we do have a Brave Shaman of Beasts. So this bad boy is coming with a Manticore to support, of course, the frontline fight. Just drop a nice, nasty, terror-causing creature there, as well as Pon's Impenetrable Belt. And you might be wondering why. That is a bit of an awkward spell. It's not very popular. I figured some AoE support would be nice. I didn't think that Flock of Doom would really be necessary, since I've got two Chariot characters who can just run infantry over. And honestly, Wissen's Wild Form just isn't that useful if you face, say, Stone Trolls or Boar Boys or Black Orcs or units like that, because the extra armor won't really help you. And of course, who wants non-AP damage bonus on Minotaurs? Amber Spear, not really something you're going to use if you're not trying to melt an infantry mob from the side. Curse of Honor might have been good, but I figured Pan's Impenetrable Belt would be a nice little supplement. When I've used up my Manticores, I can drop that 22% physical resist, keep my troops in the fight a little better. Finally, we do have a Gorbel, and this bad boy is going to be coming in with the OG AoE buffing tool, the Slaughterer's Call. Plus 9 melee attack and 8 leadership in an AoE is really going to be souping these Minotaurs up and really going to be pushing them into quite a powerful position. Keep in mind, it's only active when he's in melee, but this guy's going to be active in melee most of the time. And being a pretty potent anti-large specialist, he can definitely crump down on Stone Trolls or Grom or Boar Boy Big Gun or whatever unit, or sorry, Black Orc Big Gun, whatever happens to be the unit that's providing my opponent with immune to psychology, perhaps. Frontline, simply Ungor Spearmen, nothing to be said there. They're just there to soak up the charge and provide a little bit of chaff and trash to protect the Minotaurs. 2 Minotaurs with shields, as well as the Butchers of Kalkengard, create the core of this death ball. And they are backed up by 3 entire herds of thick Razorgore herd, and these ugly hogs, with all their deformities and spikes and all that, are a pretty powerful force. They can dish out a lot of pain. They're a bit of a throwaway unit, but you throw them away and they will be cost-effective versus most things. Finally, 2 Ungor Raiders as a tool to zone out these annoying Spider Riders. I kind of anticipated some skirmish play. That's also the reason we went with shielded Minotaurs instead of unshielded Minotaurs, because I didn't feel confident in my ability to properly screen them. So the Spiders there doing a little bit of poke. My opponent did bring Death Creepers in here as well, so a little bit of an annoying skirmish force. Now for the main line, it's actually a surprisingly wide formation. We've got a bunch of Orc Boys chevron up a bit, so interesting choice there. Not a bad unit though, by any stretch of the imagination. Will easily crush Ungor Spears. They are backed by the Night Goblin Fanatic Regiment of Renown, the AP Cloonies, and of course these guys with their spin to win can really mow through the infantry. They're backed by Goblin Big Boss, who does have a They Need Stabbing and is mounted on a wolf, so he could easily help snipe out the Gorbel, or perhaps my Beast Lord, or my Brave Shaman. Definitely a big threat there. And then we do have a Giant River Troll Hag, who's already dropping a Spirit Leech. That's all she's brought here, actually, looking to just be a pain in the rear that way. And already melting my poor Minotaurs as the Hammer of Gork pounds away at them, doing hefty chunks of damage, and that is really kind of aggravating. And there's not too much we can do about it besides take it on the chin. At least she miscast and took some damage, so of course regen will offset that. She does also have Mither, which could help crowd control my units, though in a death ball situation it's not too crucial. On the flank we do have Grom the Punch, who is coming in with the Language of the Boys. We do have for that immune psychology, we do have the Great on his here, providing additional buffs to melee attack and leadership in an AoE. Lucky Banner to keep himself alive, and Axe of Grom to debuff my troops. On the flank, some Orc Boar Boys, just a whole bunch of AP troops there, some Snotling Pump Wagons to disrupt my infantry. More Boar Boys over there, just a very, very powerful blob. Now, the poor Minotaurs here, just getting pounded on by artillery and Spirit Leeches, is going to force me to make my push here. We are going to commit right down the pipe, charging into these Orc Boys, as the Gorbel does dive in through the line and sends the Troll Hag flying. So for once, it's not the Gorbel that's flying. You know, that's a bit of an exception to the rule. We do see the Goblin Big Boss there committing. We pop Foe Seeker just to keep our vigor a little higher. And as my opponent tries to pour through with the Chariots, we're actually going to countercharge here with all the Razor Gore. And although they have taken some damage from before, they are going to be able to do some very, very beefy amounts of work, despite the Great on his ear, all those buffs, making these Orc Boys just chew through those poor Baconators quickly. Now, a bit of a misplay here on my part. I do allow my Archer line to get a bit compromised. These Spider Riders are really something that's a bit difficult for me to chase off. I don't really have great tools to defend them. Probably should just not bother with the Archers and brought a few more Ungors, but oh well. So we do manage to rout a few of these off with Ungor Spears, but Spiders continue being a nuisance as the Bacon continues to get crushed here. And we do get a nice little buff here. Pan's Impenetrable Belt going down, keeping our troops in the fray. Apocalyptic Vision, of course, keeping these boys in the thick of it. Just look at our list of buffs. Horn of the First Beast, melee attack up to 93, and of course the Gorbel is in the fight there. Crumpin on the Goblin Big Boss as the Chariots pile through, and of course the Chariots will be racking up quite the body count when faced with such crappy troops. Manticore Summon going down, punishing the Hammer of Gork here, and unfortunately, because of the way, if you put units on guard mode, they'll just keep fighting to the bitter end. We are able to knock out some of the artillery models, but the Hammer of Gork continues firing away, which is definitely a bit of a nuisance. One of those things that kind of annoys me a little bit, that you can't actually remove crews properly, and when they don't route like this, they'll stick around. So yeah, not exactly getting the best value there, but Gorbel here able to pursue the Goblin Big Boss, smack him around a little bit, and Grom here pushing through, forcing off the Bacon, and really our backlines collapsed. And at this point, my army, even though Balance of Power looks pretty decisively in my favor, my army is a minuscule little microcosm of an army that's just sitting here in this pocket. We've got a handful of Minotaurs still fighting, tooth and nail, the Minotaurs with shields and the Bushel of Kalkengard. The other unit of Minotaurs has actually been wiped out, I believe. The Bray Shaman, as well as the Gorbel and the Beast Lord, separated a bit. And of course the Ungors did not hold out. They are gone. So a bit of a situation there. Manticore does remove the Hammer of Gork from play, and the Goblin Big Boss is routed there as well. But things are definitely not looking great in this situation. Another Spear Leech going down, melting away at the Minotaurs. My opponent playing things smart here, focusing the Minotaurs that can't regen rather than the Butcher of Kalkengard, not wasting his resources there. Surrounding me and crumping me pretty hard. Some Bacon does come back onto the field, and unfortunately I was not quick about bringing these guys back, which I really should have been. But unfortunately Orc Boar Boys here do get on the Ungor Raiders, and the Ungor Spears are really able to drag us into the muck. Here in the pits, though, Beast Lord continues to be a nuisance. The Gorbel as well, doing some major work, swinging that axe, and of course, the Chariots just continue to do damage. Another Manticore Summon is going to go down. The Beast Lord here doing quite a bit of work as the Butchers fight to the bitter end here in the pits. Manticore does go down. Keep in mind, there are going to be no terror routes here in this fight because my opponent, of course, does have Grom in the pits. Now we do get Bloodlust going on the Butchers of Kalkengard, souping up that damage to 129, so they're hitting much, much harder. And we are focusing the key targets. I want to get rid of these Orc Boar Boys, get rid of that high mass, and once all that's left is the Orc Boys, I can run those over with a crippled Chariot. I'm not too concerned about them. What I'm really, really worried about is Grom and the Cavalry, and to a lesser extent the Troll Hag, who is out here on the flank, regenning HP and dropping Spear Leeches like a pain in the rear. Now Grom here is getting pursued by the Gorbel. We're able to chunk him a bit. Now obviously Grom will probably be able to squeak away here, even though he's taking some pretty brutal blows. My opponent's slipping up on the micro there. Not sure if that was intended. He was trying to get some extra damage in there or what. The Gorbel punishes the Fat Gobbo in brutal fashion, forcing him to flee. And that's going to be a problem because now these troops are susceptible to terror. Butchers of Kalkengard are still in the fight. They still have 9 models, and they are going to be able to imbue terror into all these units. The Bray Shaman of Beast here smacks into the Giant River Troll Hag, sending her routing. That's actually going to be enough to trigger a chain of events where the Greenskins rout. For Beast Lord there was in full flight. He got torn apart. Not entirely sure by what. I think the Boar Boys did a number on him. But we do net ourselves a Pyrrhic victory. So going over the build here, I'm not really convinced it's the best way to go against the Greenskins or a super competitive way to go, but it was a lot of fun. Obviously, always bringing the angry cows into the fray is a good experience. They can do a lot of damage. It's just fun to see your death ball mow through the enemy. Even if in the end you might peter out and get routed, but it was a lot of fun there. Gorbel did a lot of work. Gorbel managed to slaughter the Goblin Big Boss. He managed to push out the Giant River Troll Hag and ultimately pressure out Grom, which is important. If you need to fight these sorts of blobs, if you don't manage to get rid of Grom, you're going to be screwed. Grom will keep... Orcs don't have the worst leadership overall. They just tend to have... It's sort of like Empire State Troop. Most of their leadership is usually around Empire State Troop or cavalry levels. So if something prevents terror routes, Greenskins will fight for a long time. And that's kind of what Grom does with the language of the boys. I believe it gets you another +4 leadership too. So it's just, he gets a lot of buffage in AoE, keeps his troops in the fight. So you got to pressure him out, and Gorbel did that. The Manticore summon was excellent as usual, wiping out the Hammer of Gork, removing it from play, preventing it from crippling my Minotaurs further, and then pressuring my opponent's key troops. And honestly, the Ungors did surprisingly well, zoning away the Spider Riders. For a 400 gold unit, I was pretty impressed. Though unfortunately, the other troops here did not do as well. Beast Lord I also mismicroed and just let him get stuck. And I really should have been trying to pull him in and out of the fight a little bit better, but I did not. For my opponent here, my main critique would be really pushing the River Troll Hag into the fight early. She actually kind of went close to the Gorbel. She really should have just run away and kept dropping Spirit Leeches. And I think this build lacks a little bit in anti-large stopping power. You do have these Spider Riders to sort of whittle down something like Minotaurs over time, but it's really a build that gambles on the fact that Grom is going to keep your troops in the fray through everything. And if that works out, this build did come very close to winning here. My opponent had my Minotaurs on the ropes. One of them was routed completely. The Butchers of Kalkengard were at death's door. All that I really had left was the Gorbel and the Butchers in crippled format. But I think there just wasn't enough staying power against large in this build. And once Grom was removed, the leadership collapsed and the blob wasn't able to hold. So I think a slightly more careful play with Grom and really the hero squad would have been key there. Razor Gores for me also didn't perform very well. I kind of misused them. I used them to block up Grom and as a chariot push, which might have been useful, but ultimately this is almost, keep in mind, Baconators aren't that cheap, so this is about 2,000 gold worth of troops that I kind of threw away and didn't get much value out of. My opponent used the language of the boys, and the great one is here, to slaughter these guys in seconds. So on one hand, maybe it was good because it protected the Minotaurs, which is always the intent, because they're the key winning tool. At the same time, yeah, it cost the Razor Gourd very, very quickly. Two of them just got wiped in seconds, so brutal stuff. But regardless, well played to SLK DSG here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Hopefully you found it entertaining and fun. As usual, don't hesitate to post your thoughts, opinions, comments, and critiques down below. I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.